Welcome to the Inner Flame podcast where Stardust meets the body. This is the weekly energetic pulse for June 15th through the 21st. I feel like it's gonna be like expansive. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of energies. June is definitely living up to what I got for my Inner Flame News monthly newsletter for June. It's just like, wow, out there, right? This last month has been exhaustion that I don't really know I felt. Emotions coming up. I've talked to a lot of people, and it just feels like we're being stretched, like everything is just being stretched, and there's like a real sense of needing more time to regulate, recoup, process, just feel emotions that are arising. And yeah, and anyway, I think that's okay. So if we want to get into this week, right, we've got the start of the week with a portal. And this is around deep love, mother's milk, birth as being a portal. And what I find really interesting is that, especially I did a summer energies podcast, and June felt intense. July felt like there was going to be some fireworks, or that's the word my friend used the other day. But it does also feel like there might be like a place where we can maybe take a breath. And I think this is really interesting for right now because it really does feel like whatever we are going through feels very much like a portal and making our way through the birth canal, right? Which can feel tight. I can't remember myself, but I can only imagine that it feels tight, uncomfortable, right? There's cramps, there's like blackness, right? We don't know what the hell's going on. But it's like the beginning of the week is really asking us to remember like real deep, like mother's milk is nourishment, right? Like really, really deeply loving ourselves and supporting ourselves deeply. And I think there's always going to be an element of self care, whatever week we look at, right? But this week again is like, yeah, no, in my email, it was like I talked about being in a Spartan race and being like, oh my God, like, ugh, like trying to get through and finish the race. And I really feel like you know, this is that. we are we are in it, okay? And the beginning of the week is really like deep love to me also is like where can we receive the deep love and support, right? Because we don't get we don't produce our own mother's milk, right? Like the mother's milk is looking for nourishment from our surroundings, okay? So it really is being able to say and see where you have support, where you can find nourishment. Um, and this is also kind of saying, through the expression of looking through the situation. So this to me is like everything that we're kind of experiencing right now, but also for this week is like being able to look through, right? So the message might be glaring at us at, like da 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 da, the neon lights are going, but we're being asked to actually look through the messaging that's being put in our face, okay? And I really want to like dig into that for just a minute. So mother's milk it's like primal, right? It is what we need. It is sustenance, it is nourishment. But looking through it or looking through the situation again, is like what I'm trying to say here is there might be a message that's coming through, but it might be surface. And I'm going to give an example. I have been very overwhelmed, okay? And it's really interesting because I talk about being, and I can see very quickly how this pattern of mine comes into play with doing, right? And I don't know if I want to say perfectionism, but maybe a little bit, but also how, production equals worth, okay? And I'm feeling many things about myself right now. And the message, I think I get caught up in each little thing and what I need to do for each little thing. But if I'm actually looking through the situation, what I need to do is go back to being. I need simplification. That's the word I get, is simplification. So can you offer that for yourself, right? And we then have this through the lens of compassion for the beginning of the week, right? I'm sorry, compass. We have this through the lens of compass. And like, what's one thing that you need to get home? A compass, right? You need to be able to know the directions. And I think that's simplification. It's not like, oh, I need this. It's a compass. It's knowing which way is north, which way is east, which way is south and west, right? It's knowing where you stand. And so at the beginning of the week, we have deep love, mother's milk, nourishment, birthing, right? I feel, again, we're going through this portal and we are being asked to come back to being. And what is it that you really need? Can you look through the surface and find out what is it that I could do? Is it better care for myself? Is it better boundaries, right? Is it better love? What is it? And how can you get there? And this is really following your compass. Quiet all the noise and come back to you. And like, that's what I did, right? Like, I have a lovely friend who was like, hey, I'm hearing you, and maybe you should try this, and this. And she's so amazing because she just wants to give, help. And I love that about her. I really do. But for me, I'm like, okay, I'm not ready for that. I think right now what I need is simplification. I need to just come back to simplicity. Okay? So by the middle of the week, we have hidden secrets, lost wisdom, look a little deeper. And, again, on the main stage, like as we see this in our macro and our micro, right, we might see this as things coming to the surface, right? Things coming out to us, okay? And I think we're going to see this in our macro, but I also think we're going to see this in our micro. I think we're going to see more of us, right? Like maybe more emotions, more things that need to be released or to be looked at or to be brought to consciousness, right? Like to be looked at consciously rather than it staying in the subconscious. So we're going to be seeing that, I think, in the micro and the macro. And this, I think, again, could be like overwhelming, but does it have to be? No, right? And we've got the card nature, which again is like, this is absolutely getting out in nature, going for a hike, getting your feet in the grass, being outside, getting yourself in the sun, all those things. But I think it is also about going and maybe having some fun, because I think there's a lot happening. My friend and I were just having this conversation about, again, I was like, I've been very maybe critical of myself. And then I think like, well, I've got to do this, right? And so I again get into the doing rather than the being. And I think our being is looking for us to be. So this is like experiencing life outside of your office, experiencing life outside of your home, right? Doing things that are not in your day-to-day programming, okay? So this is like, we've got hidden secrets, lost wisdom, look a little bit deeper, and that feels very like, I think I think that could bring like a lot to the surface. So I think this is asking like through this is saying there's a lot happening. There's a lot coming to the surface, but through the expression of nature. So being able to kind of balance everything out. And then this is through the lens of change, meaning we are definitely going through a transformation. And I think this is like, again, change can be scary and stressful. I've said before, I think we are very much in the goo phase right now. And what does that mean? That means we were the caterpillar. We are in the goo phase where we are in the chrysalis. Our bodies are breaking down. We don't know the answers. Things kind of feel uncertain. It's very uncomfortable. We want answers. We want structure. We want to know what the fuck's going on. But we don't have those things, right? And it's really hard to maybe sometimes feel like I'm going to be a beautiful butterfly after this when you feel like there's no way I'm going to ever take any form after this. So we are in the transformation stage, okay? And it's really being able to say, you have everything you need to get through this time. And I think, again, that comes like that ties in so beautifully with the compass of really being able to say, you're the one who is going to be able to support you the best. And I think that's also something that I want to talk about with like the goo phase is simplicity, allowing life to be simple and allow yourself to be, be present in your life without the constant production, the constant stress. I'm really seeing this for myself on such a bigger scale than I have before. So we end the week actually with light body, crystal grid, transmission, and activation. And what's really interesting is I just wrote an article on Substack that I published with the goddess Hemera, who is the Greek goddess of the day, daylight. She is the radiant one. And it had so much to do with light and how we digest light, how we metabolize light. And light doesn't just mean, external light, but like how are we metabolizing our experiences? How are we metabolizing our life? And it's kind of like things get so clogged up. You know what I mean? Like here's your cup and it's like experience, 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 and it just starts like spilling over the cup and you're like, holy shit, I haven't had even a moment to metabolize what happened to me yesterday, let alone the 8 things that I've just gone through today. That is so much of Hemera. Hemera is really reminding us to allow our lives to come into balance, okay? So, and what was so fascinating was she was talking, I think last week we were talking about the bridging of the two bodies, right? The carbon-based body and the crystalline body. So that we are still absolutely going through this. And I think there's going to be a lot of transmissions and a lot of activations that we are going through. This is reminding us that we are way more special, I think, than we have any idea. And with the middle of the week, we have hidden secrets, lost wisdom, look a little deeper. I think we are going to really see a lot of this, meaning we're going to maybe get the disclosure of how special we actually are, or we're getting closer to it, right? We are going to see that like humans, the species is way, way powerful. And I think maybe before we see that in our macro, we might actually be able to unlock that more and more inside of ourselves, okay? So this is just reminding yourself, like, on a very grounded level, at the end of the week, I'm going through changes. My body is changing. This is the light body. And even if our body isn't like changing, our cells are being asked to take in more light and be able to metabolize that so our cells can actually repair, function, communicate, all the things. So that's actually really big, right? Like our bodies are able to um, digest or metabolize more information than they ever have before. But how can we support that process, right? So this is just reminding you, like, you might be feeling all the things, but you are so special. And this is also saying, like, we're like hanging, we're suspended. Things are not quite ready yet. Again, I kind of felt like July was going to be like maybe a little bit of a respite, and I think July might be kind of big in a way. Um but it's like things aren't woven yet, okay? It's not time yet. And so I think we're just being reminded to have hope, that things feel like they're moving in the opposite direction, but we are actually very much moving forward. And how can you create that hope within yourself, even when the world can't offer that, right? Even when the external, and that's not right, that's the thing about hope, right? Is that you have it when the external doesn't show you that there's hope. So, how can you really anchor in something that does feel good? Um, can you let go of feeling hopeless and remember that your light shines? How very Hamera. I wonder if she is like very much in this reading right now, because I think it was just yesterday that I published her article. So I think again, this is going to be a week of goo. I really do. I think it's being able to see again, can I look a little bit more deeply with where I could support myself, receiving the mother's milk, right? Where's support in my life? Where can I offer myself deep love? And, like, if I'm going to get personal here, um, I think it's very easy for ourselves to be critical of ourselves and maybe tear ourselves down. And I think this card is reminding us how can we actually offer more deep love and acceptance for who we are right now, for how we are right now, for how we are showing up right now. And can we come back to maybe simplicity in our guidance, right? And I think that's another thing that I keep getting, like, it just feels like everything, again, like everything's coming at us, and it's like, oh, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this. But this is like, again, saying, like, come back to yourself, kind of quiet the noise again and see what's going on, okay? Hidden secrets, look a little deeper. Things are going to be maybe popping up not only in our micro, but absolutely our macro. How can we not get, and this is again, like, this might even be like a spiral moment, because if it's coming up in your micro where you're like, oh my God, I like have all these things that I'm like realizing about myself, or about my past, or about my experiences. And it's like, it could be very easy for you to just kind of spiral and, go into a collapse or lose your mind. But this is saying, like, let's balance this out. Let's not be too hard on ourselves. How can we enjoy our lives? How can we find experiences outside of our day-to-day programming and know that change is upon us? And this is really uncomfortable, and it's not we don't get an easy pass on this. We are absolutely going through cellular changes. This is not only affecting us, but our planet. There's absolutely activation. So again, it's like being super, super supportive. And I might sound like I'm repeating myself, but I think that's the point, because I don't think many of us understand this level of being. Okay. So that is this week's Energy Pulse. I think there's going to be a lot. But please, please make sure that you're staying hydrated, that you're giving yourself opportunities to, feel your feelings, process your emotions. Check out Hamera and just see what she's talking about with the light. I can try to link it in this podcast. And there will absolutely be the reflection questions at the bottom. So let me know how this week goes. I'll be super curious. And don't skimp on supporting yourself and just enjoying life. Thanks for listening.